Well, obviously I was honored to be asked to do this, and I began to reflect and going back to some old records and notes that I had. I think I'm the only one left of the original group, so I don't know who else would do it. But it's been a journey. Obviously, I've had a direct link to the Georgia Fire Council since throughout my professional career, and it's been a big part of what I was interested in doing. So I'm going to try to do this. There should be some slides rolling behind me there, just kind of as a backdrop. But you know, it's kind of hard to go back 20 years to the beginning and do that in a short amount of time. But that's what I'm going to try to do, and I'm going to try to take you back through from the very beginning and just kind of work through. And I hope I don't skip any years or points along the way. But obviously, this is just going to be the highlights of what I feel like has been most important that we've accomplished. So we did begin in 2003, and I don't remember exactly the time. It may have been I just don't know if it was the spring or the fall. Spring of 2003 or the fall of 2002 when there became some interest about forming a prescribed fire council in Southwest Georgia specifically. At that time, North Florida had three. Well, Florida had three. They had North Florida, Central, and South. So that was one model that was there, and so we were trying to kind of tack on to that. And so the first initial meeting, I don't remember exactly how many was there. And this was just a scoping session. This was just getting some like-minded people together. And it happened down in Greenwood. I remember Mr. Leon Neal was there. But I don't remember there being more than 12 or 15 people. But I think what's important is what came out of that meeting was there was a consensus that we did need to create a Southwest Georgia Prescribed Fire Council. And there were two very important people that emerged as leaders of that initiative. That was Lane Green from Tall Timbers and Lindsey Boyd from the Jones Center at Ichuaway. And so they is really their dedication and commitment to see this through and to make sure that it was going to succeed. So in 2003, we had our first meeting in Thomasville at the Plaza. If you've been downtown Thomasville, you might be familiar with that location, but that's where we held. I don't remember. I'm not even sure we took a head count. Maybe we did, but it was never recorded. Maybe about 70 people. I think it was a sponsored event between Tall Timbers and the Jones Center for the meal, because it did include a meal. But it was a nice meeting. It was well attended. Obviously, you know, it was our first meeting. We were just getting started. Lane Green was our first chair. But we thought it was a successful meeting. We moved it to Albany the next year to the Potter Community Center. We had gained a little bit of support, more support and interest, and somewhere, hopefully you've seen kind of the Southwest Georgia, the map that had the counties that were outlined in that initial group. Well, that was part of the problem. As every year clicked by, there was more interest, and so the next year we Mr. Victor Beatles was part of the group, and so we arranged the meeting to be in Moultrie, and we I think it's Moultrie Tech. We had a nice meeting there. Every year our membership or our participation was increasing, and there was more support, and we had to continue to draw those county boundaries out to encompass the interests and be inclusive to bring in other partners. Then the fourth year, we met at the ABAC library. It was a new facility, had a big kind of basement that they were able to clear out. And I think that year we got about 120 or 130 people. And so we'd kind of outgrown. Tifton seemed to be the place that that worked for us. And so from the next year on, we met at the Tifton conference center there, that's part of the UGA campus system. And so that was from, well, our fifth meeting. It would have been from 2008 on, I guess it was, if I've got my years remembered right. But we had gained enough interest, and it's ironic and coincidental that it included all the way up to Muskogee County. Isn't that, I think that's the county seat for, or Columbus is the county seat for Muskogee County. Because Fort Benning wanted, or at that time it was Fort Benning, Fort Moore now, wanted to be included. And so we literally encompassed Southwest Georgia. And so one of the first things we did at the conclusion of our 2007 meeting was we went back to our initial mission, where we were, what's taking place, the interest that was there. And it was consensus of the group that we were actually acting as the de facto statewide prescribed fire council. There was no other interest in North Georgia or Southeast Georgia to create another standalone. So at that point, we became the Georgia Prescribed Fire Council. And of course, the logo that we all recognize, that was how we came across that was we worked with the Valdosta State College and with their graphic arts, and we just put a challenge out as kind of a sideline project, and then we had a description of what it was we were looking for, kind of what was important to us, and we made a contest, and I think we paid the recipient $100 that we picked. So we got, I can't remember how many it was, but I wish I knew who that person was. I don't know who that was. It happened so long ago. But then we were on our way. We had solid legs to stand on. We had a lot of interest at state level, and so that allowed us to go, particularly to Atlanta and the capital state organizations, to bring them in to the group. And one of the things that we did immediately was working closely with the Georgia Forestry Commission. Without their support and effort, it would have never happened. But it's hard to look back and believe now we were so motivated that, in a 12-month time span, we not only set out to get, there's 159 counties in the state of Georgia. In a 12-month period, we were able to present to 157 of those counties commissions and get signed resolutions supporting the use not only of prescribed fire in the state of Georgia, but also the role of the Georgia Forestry Commission. And in 2008, that was presented to the governor in the state capitol, and that's a pretty powerful tool that there's a strong support for prescribed fire in the state of Georgia. I failed to mention one key piece. I'm trying to keep all this in my head. In 2006, we had our first Prescribed Fire Awareness Week proclamation signing. We worked through the governor's office, something to do to get that done, and that's happened every year since that time. And so that's the first full week of February, and so that was another step that we had done along the way. So that was, up to that point, it was a lot of things were going on. We elevated ourselves to a statewide organization. We had gotten some national traction an interest with some of the other work that we've done. We were serving as a role model for some of the other councils in the southeastern states to start up, and we were very fortunate to have been selected and won the Pulaski Award, which is a national award that is awarded by the National Interagency Fire Center, which is made up of all the fire directors from all the federal agencies within the federal government. And so that was a pretty significant award that in time and place. And then in 2009, the Coalition of Prescribed Fire Councils became an official organization and had nonprofit 501c3 status. And Georgia was a charter member of that group and was very instrumental in at least my ability to work with other states all across the country and use this as a successful model, an example of what you can accomplish when you work together. Then we get to 2010 and 12, and that's kind of when we hit I feel like kind of our low point, not in motivation, but that was a time when the economy got upside down and things were, if you were with an agency during that time, it was just kind of an economic crisis there for a little while, and there was a lot of uncertainty. And Georgia Forestry Commission was particularly hit hard. In one calendar year, they had to shut down 33 county office units, which is not an insignificant amount. That whole system up to that point was founded and supported on the county rangers being there for county support, and so and then there was a lot of retirements and people weren't replaced, and the staffing came down a lot, and we were there with them through all that and supported them. But times were tough, and even within the nonprofits, with the Jones Center and Tall Timbers, money was not as available. Staffing, there were shortages, and if you were in an agency during that time, that doing more with less was kind of what drove us all. And if you survived that, you were one of the lucky ones. But we did survive it. Up to that point, most of the funding that came through the two founding organizations. But after that, we had to do a little bit different. And so then we really started to broaden our net. We started to try to increase the amount of participation at these meetings, because this is where we get people in front of us that are actually doing the burning, our tech transfer. These are like the most important thing I think that we do, is to get together one time a year as a group, have a great program, share a great meal, and talk about the issues that are at the state level. And so we actually, it was well received within our stakeholder. We had our leadership team had grown substantially and almost doubled in size in about a 2-year period. There was a lot of interest, and a lot of people started putting resources to supplementing the cost of these events. And so, that was up until about 2017, 18. That was what I call, we were growing by 10 and 20% every year. And so it didn't take long to get to where we were, doubling our 130, and we were 270, and then, could we make 300? And so that was our main focus. And then in 2017, we had 2 people that retired, Lindsay Boring with the Jones Center and Bob Ferris with GFC, and they were recipients of our Torchbearer Award. We had 2 awarded in that one year time frame. Lane Green was the first one to ever receive the Torchbearer Award. We've only ever awarded 4 in the history of the organization. So to have 2 in 1 year, that was pretty significant. And then in 2019, we had our first North Georgia Prescribed Fire Council meeting, and that was a long time in the making. We needed to have one, but we just didn't have the horsepower until 2 really key people came along, and that's Frank Riley with the Chestatee and Chattahoochee RC&D, who is here today, and Mike Davis, who's the FMO for Chattahoochee and Oconee. I think they're morphed together, but he's with the Forest Service. And that has been successful. It has almost doubled our impact as far as being in front of people in the state of Georgia. It's doubled our participation, and there's a lot of credit that goes to those two individuals for helping to get that started, and the team that they have created. And then in 2020 came COVID, and we did not have an annual meeting then in face-to-face, but we did have a virtual version, which was new to all of us, at least to me. I think we're all used to Zoom now and not conference calls. But believe it or not, we made it relevant to Georgia because we wanted Georgia to be our primary audience, but we put a little national spin on our program. And to my surprise, we were able, I think it was 932 or 934 was what we had in attendance on Zoom, which I think at that time, and I don't know since then, where there's ever been a fire meeting in the United States that had that much attendance. We have had support through the governor's office to include several visits virtually from Kemp at some of the meetings in North Georgia primarily. But in 2020, we had the first, as far as I'm aware, a cabinet member, it was Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, addressed our group at that meeting. And I think a lot of people that were participated from out west and other areas participated just to hear his address and his position. And of course, all that goes back to 2006 when he signed first. He remembered that. He also remembered the proclamation signing or the resolution for the county commission level. That's something that stuck in his memory. And so that was nice. And then here we are in 2023 in a new venue. And I think this is kind of an inflection point where, in a maturity level where, the council is now. I think that fire is a lot stronger and more supported in the state. I think there are a lot of new programs. There's emerging issues. There's the old issues of air quality and smoke management. Those things are not going to go away. And it affects us all. But, just going to the community base and learning what the issues are and bringing people together, that's what the council is supposed to do. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I look forward to seeing as much of that as I can and being around. The one thing that I'd like to end on is that it's been stated, but I don't think you can overstate it, how critically important the people that are willing to lead this organization. I made a point to record all the past chairs and the organizations that they represent, and it's pretty extensive. One of the things that I get asked most frequently, in fact, I'll be meeting with a group from Utah tomorrow about this time at lunchtime about this issue, but how do you get recruitment and retention of leadership? And we've not had that in the state of Georgia. We've been very blessed, and just to see that and compare it. And I know a different side, in other states where that's a problem, but it's never been one in Georgia. So I just want to end by saying this: if you're currently on the Georgia Prescribed Fire Leadership Team, if you'll stand up, or if you're a past member of that team, would you please stand up and be recognized? Without anyone, we wouldn't be where we are today, that's for sure. Thank you.